Right, what's up, Keyforgers? Welcome to Phlox'em and this super special presentation we've got here tonight. This is a Clash of Titans, as we've named it, because in the KAGI League, which is an adaptive league running over on the KAGI Discord server, should definitely check it out. We have pods, so people get organized into pods. You play everyone in your pod in a KAGI match or an adaptive match, and then everyone or the top cuts from the pod go into one single top cut round, and we are right at the end of the pod phase. And in one of these pods, we have two Vault Warrior champions, so Vault Tour winners in Archon from this year, who are set to play each other. We've got Zenzizenzizenzic and Tutenkharnage, who are playing each other in this adaptive match. Now, they both won this year in Archon. Zenzizenzizenzic winning at Roseville, the Roseville VT, and then Tutenkharnage winning at the very recent Baltimore VT. And so, because they're both in this unique position, and this is a kind of unique style of match, they decided to both bring their Vault Tour winning decks to this adaptive match. So normally this would also already be a really interesting Archon match to see how these two Vault Tour winning decks, these both ascended decks, would match against each other. But instead, we're going to see, well, we are still going to see how they match against each other, but we're also going to see how these players match against each other when they have to pilot each other's deck. Because in adaptive, you're going to play your deck against your opponent's deck in game one. Game two, you will switch decks and then play your opponent's deck against your deck and them playing it. And if the same deck has won 2 games in a row, that means both players have won once, both with the same deck. And you will then bid chains or a handicapped mechanic on that deck for game 3 to see who gets to play it. So in this, the strength of the deck shouldn't matter, but these are both very high-powered decks, and so they should still have a very close matchup, and I'm very, very interested to see how this goes. Let's take a look at these decks really quick before we get into the match. I think our players are about ready to go here. Yep. So on the left, of course, Zenzizenzizenzic's deck is a self-named deck, which is really, really awesome. It's rare that you get to see those personalized decks really do well. This is a Grim Reminders deck. It is a Wind of Death key abduction deck, but I can tell you from personal experience, this deck has so much heat that it brings, even if you're not able to do that combo. It's just a very efficient deck. There's tons of ways that it can take you off key. It's doing all kinds of things, even though like the creature control looks like it might be a little bit low. It's still going to be dealing with all kinds of stuff. There's lots of capture. There's lots of steal. There are lots of ways of making you capture your own amber. It's got some tricky stuff like the replay pod, which can just flood the board after you think you've dealt with it. Perimeter alarm is doing some, house cheating stuff with some of these really nasty creatures, especially in Mars. You've got the soul vial for all of that captured amber, so your creatures are going to your archives. It's a strong deck. It's got the double or the boo to get you haunted really fast so that you can do that Winds of Death key abduction if you can get there. But again, in general, I played against this at the Open Archon tournament at Roseville KFC last year, and I got lucky because turn 1 I was able to purge one of the combo pieces, and it was still a super long and very, very tough game. And so just think about what this deck can do without that, and obviously it can do a lot because it has won a Vault Tour just recently here. So great player, really, really scary deck. Second one we got here, Tutenkharnage's deck, Somnari Fontberg's Huntmaster. This is an Amber Skies deck, Disc Geistoid and Logos. And this is a nasty deck. It's a lot of just sort of value. Each house is doing a lot of what you think these houses should be doing. The Dis is probably the scariest. You've got double Arise. One of them is the Geistoid Pip, so you can use that either for Disc creatures or for the Geistoid creatures, which is super, super strong. You've got a lot of discard pips in here for added efficiency, which you might not get otherwise, because the Geistoid is doing a little bit of what Geistoid does in that sense, but not quite as much. Same with the Logos. You're getting some card draw, but those discard pips are doing a lot for you. But you've got tons of disruption here, so double try hard with those double arises means you could see these tryhards 6 times in a playthrough. There's so many discarded cards. You've got the Vapor Imps that are going to try to do some disruption, some controlling of what you can actually even play on your turn. The Venomoth is going to reduce how much amber you can, or how many cards you're even drawing. Double Doom also doing some random discarding. So this is just like Gift of Amber, Dust Imp, Infernal Terran making Amber, lots of good burst and Amber control there. You've got tons of disruption, and it's all recurring because of these arises. The Geistoid is honestly not what you would always expect from Geistoid. I think I said that earlier. The 3 well strings of Stratawise and stuff can seem like it's a little bit slow, but with that Soul Tender in there, there's so much capture in this deck. You can see all the capture pips on there. Stratawise, the Kernel Slimes are also doing capturing. There's so many ways for that Soul Tender to just strip your opponent's Amber from the board, and it's also going to be warding all of this. And we can see 8 Amber control on Zenzi's side, 7.7 or creature control on Zenzi's side, 7.7 on Tutenkharnage's side. Not a ton of creature control going on here for either of these, so those wards get nasty real fast. They're really tough to deal with, especially if you don't have damage pit pings or things like that, which these decks don't. I do have the Crepuscular Rays in there, which, again, there are a lot of capture pips. Not as much of it is in the Geistoid. It is spread out a little bit more, but still a scary thing. Can do a really big Amber swing in there if you can sort of line it up. And then you've got the Logos, which is just doing a lot of standard Logos stuff. The Double Worm Tunnel, again, is going to be a lot of just really nice efficiency, extra card draw, because there's going to be captured Amber all over the place. Skippy the Glorious and Remote Access, and then Strange Gizmo, giving you some artifact control, double information exchange, just some nice Amber control in there. But again, this is going to be 2 decks that kind of, they're going to be fast. It's tough to say the matchup 100%. I do see the one thing that Tutenkharnage's deck does not have is a solid answer to the Winds of Death Key Abduction. It can do a lot to try and slow it down, to disrupt it with like the tryhards and stuff. Hope you just discard the right things, and just creating pressure by having this board having a lot of Amber generated. So there is a world, there's definitely a world where Sumneri just outraces Zenzi's deck for what it's trying to do, along with the amount of disruption it can put out. If it wasn't doing the disruption, I would say it's really hard to outrace something like what Zenzi's deck is doing, especially knowing how much Amber control Zenzi's deck can do. This one has the disruption to really kind of keep Zenzi's deck from full speed for long enough, or we'll see if it does. Zenzi's deck, again, has a lot of Amber control, really is going to come down to probably the creature control, and if it can deal with stuff at the right time, and then probably get that Winds of Death Key Abduction combo off to close out the game with the key cheat. So very, very cool, very exciting. Really can't wait to see how this matchup goes. Again, playing it in adaptive just is such a different experience too, because both players are going to have to play both of these decks. So seeing Tutenkharnage having to play Zenzi's deck, and then Zenzi trying to play Tutenkharnage's deck, just changes up the dynamic that much more. Okay, they've got the game set up, so let's head over there. Where'd they set this up? Blind. Oh, there we go. Okay, and we are hijacking a little bit our final refrain border and stuff here, because this is also very fun. Our final refrain next season that is coming up is also going to be adaptive. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of this style of game coming up soon on this channel and many other channels. So be on the lookout. This is sort of like a preview of the caliber of player we're going to be seeing, the caliber of decks, but also showcase of this awesome format in Keyforge. I'm gonna, let's see, Zenzi is on top, so we got the names right. I'm gonna shrink this just a hair. It's all right. So again, we've got Tutenkharnage on Sumneri on the bottom here. The Amber Skies deck looks like, ooh, it is already in a adaptive match. I wonder if that will actually work. If the rematch on the single game adaptives can be weird. Tutenkharnage going first. So an important thing to note with adaptive with KAGI rules specifically, and we'll be doing this in the final refrain as well, is that instead of the loser of game one getting to choose the first player, it is the same deck will always be going first. And that has implications for the key or the chain bidding at the end and how that sort of works. And so it kind of really makes it a little bit more fair, makes it a little bit more streamlined, just so you always know which deck is going first, and really tries to even the matchup as much as you can so you can really highlight the player skill in using these decks. All right, and yep, so we've got the Amber Skies deck going first here. And looks like we have both players already mulliganing down. So neither one of them really like their starting hand. Zenzi's deck, probably really looking for that Geistoid earlier on, especially the Boo. The sooner you can get stuff in your discard, the better. Tutenkharnage's deck does not have anything to purge from the discard, so it's really not going to be dealing with stuff if you're throwing it in the discard, so you're safe if you're Zenzi to just really start getting your efficiency going that way. Junk Restoration's, of course, also good. BR Geist. BR Geist is actually going to be an interesting one here. Because if you can kill this Soul Tender and then BR Geist it, that might actually be a pretty scary. Well, let's see. We've got Demo, Dark Lamp, and LP Stray, and Snippy. So nothing too crazy on your side, but again, neither one of these decks have a ton of creature control, so that would be scary to get those wards down. Psionic, Officer Lang, and the Near Future Lens, which we did see there is artifact control. The only hard artifact control, though, in Somnary is going to be the Strange Gizmo. So basically, in order to get rid of the Near Future Lens for Tutenkharnage, you're going to have to forge a key, which early in the game, pretty good chance that's going to happen, but is it going to happen soon enough to offset the just crazy efficiency Near Future Lens will give to Zenzi here? This is a very, very nice start for Zenzi. We're going to get to see what Zenzi is drawing. I don't know how much I'm going to keep up with that because it's a lot. But we see Airlock, Distant Void Prover, Garcia, and Perimeter Alarm. So not a too bad Star Alliance turn if you want to go again. Rogue Operations. What'd that get discarded from? Oh, it looks like Zenzi just played the Rogue Ops, or discarded it. I'm not getting any value from that at the moment. All right, Tutenkharnage already kind of taking a think about this turn here. Oh no, I just didn't scroll down far enough. So we got the Manifestation going just for an Amber, discarding the Mosquito. That's a creature you're really not concerned with in this deck. Energy Vampirism doesn't have anything to hit for the Psionic. You can still choose Psionic Officer Lang, even though there's no Amber for it to capture here. But that means you're not quite getting as much value from that as you would like. And then Reaping there with the Soul Tender does mean Lang is going to archive the top of Zenzi's deck. So getting Zenzi even more efficiency there. Now we've got the archives and the Near Future Lens, and this is still live, so another turn it could still be there and really slowing down what Tutenkharnage is wanting to do. But Tutenkharnage already getting some nice Amber here with 3. All right, so we've got UFO getting played off of the Near Future Lens, but it is a Mars turn too, so it is going to be able to use that Mars stuff, but we do see the Winds of Death getting discarded. Okay, so this is where, if you're Tutenkharnage, that's just sort of one of those, like, little bit of size of relief. Because Zenzi does not have an in here somewhere, so getting back that Winds of Death does take a little bit more work. It is possible, especially with things like Target or whatever, you can do it, but it does take a little bit more work compared to just having the in here somewhere, pull it back almost any time. However, this is a really big board of Mars. Tutenkharnage does not have a true board clear. There's a lot of ping damage, there's a lot of different things. Again, that Strange Gizmo is going to be really important, but this is already pretty scary because this board is hard to move and it's going to be able to just reap and get tons of value, going to be capturing stuff, able to fight things off here. So, and we've got the Airlock. So this board might already be really tough actually for Tutenkharnage to deal with. You really want to get a couple well strings down here and then ward them with the Soul Tender so you can start at least forcing Zenzi to fight into them. Does go dis here. You might actually use the Gift of Amber just to deal with some of this. Again, knowing that the Winds of Death is gone, you're a little bit more okay just getting stuff off the board because you're not going to see it again for quite as soon as you would otherwise. Okay, yeah, so that's what we see here. The Gift of Amber going is going to be a discard off of that as well. See what we ditch here. Okay, lose one of the worm tunnels. Maybe projecting, not going into Logos anytime soon, which is fair. I think if you're going to deal with this board, you probably are going Geistoid or Dis a little bit more. Okay, so we do see the Arise being played there already. Discarding Tryhard, getting Tryhard back with the Arise. A little sneaky way there to not have to actually truly discard anything. Does discard the Soul Vial there, and then discards the target. Oh. So this is where Zenzi's deck is really good if the stuff comes together, but there's just a few pieces that can get that stuff back from the discard if it gets milled. So two very unlucky things there for Zenzi already. Losing both the Winds of Death off of the UFO and then that target off of Tryhard is huge because let's see, what other ways are there actually to get things back? This is basically just you want to flip as fast as possible now. Which this deck can do. Again, you've got double Junk Restoration, you've got Boo, you can get there pretty fast, but you're basically resetting your work of getting into that combo. So this is, again, the Mars board is not what you want to deal with right now if you're Tutenkharnage, but seeing those cards get discarded this early in the game is huge because that just gives you so much breathing room to do your own thing and try to really rack up the Amber. But again, Zenzi's deck has a lot of Amber control. These two Distant Void Probers are still here. One more card in the discard, and then they're reaping and taxing keys up to 12. Zenzi does go into Geistoid here, gets Junk Restoration off the Near Future Lens there. Quartermaster Body, Boo, and Junk Restoration. Ooh, that's a tough one. Grabs the Junk Restoration, so goes for the second one of those. So we don't get the Boo. Do have the Strong Feeling, though. Oh, let's see. Man, this is hard to see, track what all is going. Strong Feeling, Ironic Rebel, and Into the Warp. Strong Feeling, don't know if it does a whole lot in this deck. Basically the Dark Lamp and Elbia Stray. At least in Geistoid, they're not doing a whole lot. Chooses to play the Snippy here just to get rid of the ward on the Soul Tender. Doesn't get the check, does get the Haunted House down. Again, there is artifact control in Tutenkharnage's deck, but it's not all very easy to use, and the only one that is actually destroying stuff is the Strange Gizmo and Tutenkharnage. They're saying, trying to follow all the Near Future Lens goodness. Yeah, it is. Playing Near Future Lens on TCO is a struggle, but you just have to go with it, do what you can. We see Perimeter Alarm, BR Geist, and Deep Probe. Deep Probe being, again, one of those scarier cards in Zenzi's deck, especially if you're trying to handcraft towards another big dis turn with some of that discard stuff. But it's hard if you discard all the creatures because there's a second Arise to be coming. Zenzi saying, feel free to ignore it. All right, so neither player in check yet. Both kind of getting positioning here. Zenzi already well through their deck, but again, gonna have to flip to really get into those combo pieces. Again, we see the Ironics Rebel is gone too, so the Mars still has some scary stuff for sure. Like we said, the Deep Probe. We still have Key Abduction, the Crop Circles, the Replay Pod. Yeah, so also trying to follow those Junk Restorations while there's a Near Future Lens is a lot, but Zenzi did not actually grab anything off the second Junk Restoration, just choosing to leave all of those in the discard. Interesting with the Rebel there. I wonder if you're just working towards a big Star Alliance turn or just trying to keep going with Geistoid until you mill. But I would be pretty tempted to take the Rebel. I guess how many creatures do you have left? Void Probers are down, Abductomatic gone, Grabber Jammer's gone. Oh, you have no creatures. So actually, very good call there from Zenzi. I like Mars. I would try to grab the Mars creatures because that's just what I do. But very wise there to actually not grab it. So still a lot of, again, strong Mars actions to be seen in the deck, but could be really trying to just get through the rest of this in Star Alliance and getting that near future lens to help. Okay, Tutenkharnage does goes into the Logos here. Gonna information exchange, get a quick steal. Second information exchange gets him to check. Discarding a Wellstring, getting down a Quantum Mouse, and then using that kind of as a blocker for the Connectome transfer. Archiving the Tryhard, which is important. That could be 2 Tryhards coming next turn now. You never know when those are going to hit. Quantum Mouse, and then the Distant Void Prober and the Snippy. So both of those, the Void Prober and the Snippy, both have good scrap effects. So it's a little scary giving those back to Zenzi, but you do kind of want to keep this board under control because, again, you don't really have a whole lot of options for dealing with it. Check at 7 here, though. Interestingly, this archive also gives you ammo if you're a Zenzi for that crop circles. It's a little bit, well, it's not too scary because you get to choose how many of them you purge. I'm trying to think, do we know what that third archive is? Did I miss that somewhere? Interesting. Oh, that was off the Psionic Officer Lang, so we have no idea what that is, actually. That's been sitting there for a while. Interesting. Okay, goes Geisto, though, and does take the archives here. Gonna get some amber off of the Haunted House, gonna get a Dark Lamp out there. Again, there's no strong feeling, but does BR Geist the target? Okay, so here is one way to get that card back. Does get the Winds of Death. We are back in business. I think I missed that one, trying to think through all the ways you could actually kind of get these combo pieces back into hand. And BR Geist in the target is a very good one there. So getting the Winds of Death into archive. Again, Tutenkharnage not having any kind of archive hate here. There's no clipped wings or anything like that. Unable to stop the key there. Does just get the Dark Lamp down for the 1 capture, and that's pretty much it. But you've got the Winds of Death now. We don't know if the key abduction has been drawn or not. There's also a little bit of a tough spot here. If you're Tutenkharnage, you actually kind of don't want to kill these creatures at this point. You probably need to kill the target. But if you can keep from killing stuff, then you reduce the strength of that Winds of Death because it's actually just destroying all of this instead of archiving it. But at the moment, we would have 6 creatures get archived. We see a disc turn here from Tutenkharnage getting that Venomoth down for some disruption. We know that there's at least 1 tryhard coming here. Mosquito's going to have to decide what to fight here as well, or if it just wants to reap, but reaping again gives you more archives with the Lang. You probably want to just take out this target so it doesn't get key abducted for more value. Infernal Terran is going to do a discard and get a nice steal there. Yeah, just fights into the elusive here to not damage the Mosquito at all, and then just uses that 2 damage ping to take out the target. Here's the tryhard. This will be pretty big. Deep Probe and Perimeter Alarm. Not quite the cards you want to hit, but we got a second try. Oh, these tryhards are just crazy. And this is where, again, even if you're Zenzi, if this stuff gets risen after the Winds of Death, after you pull the Winds of Death, you could still lose a lot of that hand and not be able to really continue your combo. So this is actually like really, really good for Tutenkharnage because this stuff will end up in the discard after the Winds of Death, and then you can just arise it. And there's not much you can do if you're Zenzi to stop that. Second discard here from the Tryhard is Demo and Scout Pete. Again, not really stuff you care too much about if you're Zenzi, but yeah, kind of locked into this game plan at this point. You got the Winds of Death. You have to play it here. You maybe fight your Dark Lamp. Actually, can't kill itself into any. Oh, it can into the Venomoth. So you fight into the Venomoth. That gets you one more creature archived. What else are you even playing this turn? Your Junk Restorations are gone. I guess you could also just play the Soul Vial unless that's gone. I think we saw that actually. Yeah, Soul Vial is gone. It'll be Astray is about the only card we have left from Geistoid that we haven't seen. Is that right? That's crazy. Yeah, so we have Winds of Death and LB Astray. So there's the Snippy coming down. That one got archived off of the Connectome transfer. We just reap with the Dark Lamp because that actually gets us to check. Okay, so that's another option there, is just to make sure you're pressuring. But again, we saw Tutenkharnage's deck has so much capture that there's a pretty good chance that this check doesn't go through. But you got to be thinking if you're Tutenkharnage, there's a key abduction waiting somewhere in here. So you got to be ready. You really have to dig for, I think, the second Arise here at this point, which you have slowed yourself down a little bit because the first Arise chained you. Yeah, so we're going to just Geistoid here. Again, want to make sure you at least stop this key. But you want to be careful because this could also just be a big Crop Circles turn. If you get a bunch of Amber, Zenzi might be very tempted just to do a really big steal. It's kind of like Trink's Creed. What we're seeing from PV takes a lot more work and it doesn't do all of the Amber. It's just however many cards you purge. But Tutenkharnage really has to think about whether it's worth playing creatures here. Welcome in, Grishhammer. Do I think a 2-0 match is more likely with two Archon quality decks? In this matchup, I don't know. It's possible. There's a lot of practice that happens, so it's kind of like these two players have already been practicing for. Ooh, I didn't realize. Sorry, my TCO is the wrong size. Goodness. This is what happens. I know why that is. There we go. Sorry about that. That is a good question. I would say not, because in Archon, you're going to see, most of the time in Archon, you're going to see pretty clear matchup dependencies. So like in this case, there is a lot of disruption on Tutenkharnage's side. If Zenzi's tools go off kind of without a hitch, it's very, very hard for Tutenkharnage to actually stop the combo once it's going. There are some tools. The double Tryhard can help, can maybe get Zenzi down to an Amber or a card total that doesn't allow for the key abduction anymore. But again, I think it's a lot more of like you have to be discarding the right stuff to stop the combo from ever going off. Because once it starts, even if you can't do the combo anymore, the Mars house is so nasty. Just with its Amber control and different disruption it's doing, it's really, really hard to come back from that. All right, so we've got lots of Geistoid stuff happening here. Bunch of captures. So like we said, of course, this key is not quite sticking. In here somewhere. It's tricky. You might be tempted just to go for the tryhards here, but I guess you maybe just go for the Arise and then the Gift of Amber. Or you could go for the Soul Tender. But I think you Yeah, you got to get that rise because you really want to hit, as soon as Zenzi pulls this archives, you want to hit that with the tryhards. But again, there's a very real chance here that Zenzi doesn't pull archives and just steals almost all of this amber by purging stuff with the crop circles. It'd be very, very interesting to see what direction he goes. I don't know if that'd be the right play, but it feels good. I would be tempted to do that, especially depending on what you see get grabbed here. Because if you're at, let's see, 15, tryhard drops you down to 10, second one drops you down to 7. Like, it hurts bad. I guess you're probably a little bit lower than that by the end of the Mars turn. Because some of the stuff gets played and then archived. Tutenkharnage really thinking about what to archive here. But again, I could see this matchup going 2-0 just because like there are some big decisions here on how to play into this disruption, and then really there's just the luck element of like what happens with the disruption, especially early game. Like we saw, this was actually self-inflicted, but the UFO milled the Winds of Death really early in the game. And then we also saw the target get milled, so the only way Zenzi could kind of get the combo back without having to fully cycle was by playing the BR Geist for target for Winds of Death, which he was able to do, but it really slowed down what this deck could be doing if that Winds of Death gets kind of put in hand or archived a lot sooner. So, I mean, best of 3 Archon is always going to be a lot more interesting too, because you kind of learn the matchup. Even if in this situation you trade decks, you still learn things about the matchup. And there was no time limit put on this game, so that's interesting to see as well. Now that we're at the different side, I gotta fix everything for. I'm used to doing the full screen, but when I'm using this overlay, it's not full screen, and then the Archimedes doesn't go all the way across, so I was not quite as prepared for tonight as I should have been. Okay, yeah, so we see the Gift of Amber and the Arise. I think that makes sense. Again, it's going to be pressuring, and it does basically guarantee you can get those tryhards back. Zenzi does pull the archives here, so we're not going to see the crazy crop circles. Still going to be probably a decent amount of amber generated because, well, yeah. See how they choose to play this. You've got both distant, oh no, only one distant void prober. So it's just a little bit of capture, but that can still stop the key. Airlocking here. Do they need to draw? Oh, we actually, I guess we could see from the near future lens. Huh. Plays the Into the Warp off of the near future lens. Able to wipe that board of Geistoid. Plays the target to archive the Winds of Death, and then we'll get the... Sync something here? Oh, gonna get the Rebel. Okay. So playing out the Mars first here to get the Rebel proc. Key Abduction for the key. I'm only spending 2 amber, and then you just play target here for the key abduction. There is an argument for just going for it, yeah, here with the Grabber Jammer, because and if you don't do this, you're not stopping Tutenkharnage's key. But if you do it this way, you do get to archive that target there. And we got the replay pod, which saves you from even that Gift of Amber. If Tutenkharnage decides to turn that against your creatures, it just sticks them under the replay pod. And again, we did not see Strange Gizmo come down. And if you go into Dis, you're not doing anything with those artifacts, unfortunately. So you can do a little bit of damage to the hand here, but killing these creatures doesn't help you. And you can't touch the archive, so this is a tough spot for Tutenkharnage now. So double tryhard at this point goes from 7, you'd lose 2 down to 5, and then another 2. No, tryhard is a third rounding down. So it'd just be 1, right? Gosh, it's too late for math. 3 cards discarded total. Yeah, 5 then 4. Thanks, Salami, and welcome. Would you not play the tryhard first? I guess if you're planning to Gift of Amber them and then Arise them again, that does get tricky. But I think you kind of just play everything out and then do the tryhards and then just blow up the tryhards and go again. Which if he's got the second Arise in hand, there's only 4 cards left, so he very well may have that second one in hand. Just thinking through what this turn is going to look like, because there's a lot. Are you saying you would need to play him before he plays the Terran? Trying to think why. Because you Arise for this. You play out all of them. These 2 as the last. I guess if you want to make sure you don't discard the Gift of Amber, you have to see how many cards you have left. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, but you just play the Terran first, right? Again, I have to think about how it is with the Gift of Amber. Because that's the one thing you don't want to discard with the tryhards. But maybe, well, yeah, we'll see. Again, he just won a Vault Tour with this, so I'm just going to trust him to know how to sequence this turn better than I would. And it also depends on what else is in hand. If you have the second Arise in hand, it also changes things. But yeah, Terran is one of those scary cards. If that ever gets randomly discarded, especially if you're playing against like PV, you could just lose your whole hand accidentally at the start of your turn with just like 1 or 2 random discards. Okay, so we got the Vapor Imp, and this is actually a pretty big card in this matchup. Sadly, it's too easy to kill, probably for Zenzi. But Zenzi doesn't have any draw left, so the Near Future Lens is dead. So the Mars can't deep probe this either, because it's kind of all getting played from discard here. But I have to fight into which will also then depend on if Zenzi decides to blow these up with the Gift of Amber or not. So the other question is, how many Amber Pips does Tutenkharnage have in hand? Maybe it actually makes sense to discard the Terran after everything else is out to get some extra steel, but my guess is you can only do that if you're down to 3 cards, because otherwise you run the risk of losing them to tryhard anyways. All right, here's the Disc Brigade. Tough thing is, again, this is also not dealing with a ton of Amber. Discarding a Worm Tunnel there, so getting 1 steel. Gets back up to technical check. Double Doom is pretty good here. There's a capture, gets rid of Grabber Jammer, and ditches the crop circles. That's fine. It's still good. Like, it's still good to hit any Mars stuff because you know it's coming back, and it's good to get rid of creatures without destroying them. Does play the Gift of Amber here, so wants to keep the Vapor Imps alive, which I think this play does. Discards a Tryhard off of the Gift of Amber. Interesting. Wonder if you keep the Mosquito for that discard instead or something. You could just do your Dust Imp and Void Prober. Interesting. Not quite sure what he's going for here. Okay, does choose to blow up the Terran and the Dust Imp. So this to me looks like we've got a second Arise. Yeah. Oof. Oof. That's crazy. Okay, so hand is down to 5 for Zenzi. And then we said only one more tryhard play here. So it's still only 2 tryhards total. You get the capture there. Interesting. You get one more capture if you play this one twice. Yeah, the sequencing there was a little bit interesting, right? I think if you... Is there a way to do... I would have had to see how many cards they had in hand when the tryhards and stuff were played. So we lose Perimeter Alarm and the Grabber Jammer. So losing the Grabber Jammer is pretty big there. But yeah, instead of discarding this first tryhard to the Gift of Amber, if you'd have held like the Mosquito and discarded that, then played tryhard, you were down to 2 cards than 1, which means you wouldn't have discarded anything. Hey, what's up, Amber Meaties? Good to see you here. Tutenkharnage just messaged. Wish they grabbed the Crepuscular Rays and Junk Resto off of the in here somewhere. I think this is the right way to go. This makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we're still in game 1. I'm gonna try to keep up with the scoreboard here. I think this turn made sense to me. I just think it... I would have to play through it again to see if the sequencing could have given you... Could have stopped the key. I think stopping the key there would have been huge. And since you have the capture pip on the tryhard, you just needed to play this tryhard twice. And the only way you do that is if you play it Gift of Amber. Maybe the Gift of Amber was the problem. Because it had the discard pip, it gets really tricky then. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go through that in more detail. We do have enough Amber to win the game here, but got to forge twice before this key abduction goes off. But we'll see if Zenzi can just get the key abduction here. I think with the replay pod being able to bring back the Rebel here lets you do a lot of work. You're going to get to tax the key as well. So we're only at 5, so maybe it doesn't. I don't think you do get the key abduction. Let's see, no, you go to 7. Also, you'd be at, yeah, you'd be at 7. Yeah, that's, I don't think it gets you there. And didn't fight off the Vapor Imp either. Shoot, this might not be, am I doing the math right? I don't think this gets you there. Grabs Junk Restoration. I mean, again, we are taxing, so the game isn't over by any means. You get to play the key abduction. Oh, we are going to get to tax for 12 because we can replay all of that, but you don't get the key there, and you're just archiving the key abduction again. Your replay pod is gone, so all this stuff dies to Dis next turn, but only if Dis is enough to, yeah, archive the Junk Restoration instead. I'm just trying to set up to find answers in Geistoid, but Geistoid doesn't have a whole lot of Amber. answers. Most of them are in Mars, actually. You can actually stop the key here, can't you? Yeah, it's gonna be 15 total, Grishammer. Sorry, I don't play with key abduction much, so I try not to think of the math. I just let people play it and then see if they get a key or not. Yeah, this Dispod is insane. The double Arise, Gift of Amber, double Tryhard is filthy. But Zenzi is actually able to stop the key here. So you reap with this, fight with the Abductomatic, and you actually take them down to 11, and the key cost will be 12. Ooh, fights with the Void Prober instead. And then the Vapor Imp there, or Venomok. Oh, and then we airlock to flip the deck. We get a strong feeling, which is crazy. Ready's the Abductomatic, which can now fight again. Still can't stop the key, especially since you're not haunted anymore, but can fight something else off. You might just go for the Terran because that can stop the key here. And if you fight that off, it basically forces Tutenkharnage into a different house, I think. This is actually a crazy end of game fight. Okay, so going to 7 does the same thing. So I don't think you can go into Dis. Yeah. Yeah, key cheats. It's nice when there's just like, you just need 7 amber. You lose 1, you forge for 6. It's simple. Okay, so we've got Body, Perimeter Alarm, BR Geist. How did... Oh, this reaped twice just because of the Rebel, and then was able to fight for the 3rd time. So the key cost was already at 12. I missed that reap right before. Like, that was the first thing, right? Yeah, reap with Void Prober, and then is able to play the Rebel, reap with Void Prober, all gets key abducted, and then brings it back down, and then fight. I missed that. Okay, so yeah, does stop the key. That is massive. But if you're doing Carnage, you also know there's no key abduction left. That piece is gone because the only archives were, let's see, target grabs junk restoration, and junk restoration. And Tutenkharnage only on a 5-card hand here after the Arise and everything. Plays an information exchange with a capture pip, so that does stop the key. Very important, but sadly means this Mars might just get to keep running away with things here. Oh, root access. Discards Winds of Death. Not what you needed there. This is such a close game. Like, the way things started, I did not really think. I thought one of them was going to run away with it, but man, it's come down to just such tight plays here. What else might you have? Strange Gizmo maybe hurts you at this point. I guess I missed when the deck was flipped for Tutenkharnage. So I was saying though, this deck, the Amber control in this deck can be very surprising. It's nasty. What are you thinking about here? Remote access? Play the top of your deck, hope it helps. Because I don't think we saw that get played yet. Same with Skippy. I don't think we saw either of those. So this could be a couple more Logos cards still. Skippy, Ezra, and Strange Gizmo. Maybe I missed it, but I don't think I remember seeing. Maybe they got discarded. Okay, there's remote access. I mean, you can hit. I guess Haunted House doesn't do anything for you, but goes for the airlock. So going to discard a card, draw a card. Obviously, there's no Mars in Tutenkharnage's deck. Discarding Energy Vampirism, so willing to lose some more of that Amber control. A little scary. Discard Skippy to use Near Future Lens here. Plays Worm Tunnel. Okay, so you can move that Amber off of the Dust Imp, get a couple more draws. I don't know that finding Connectome really helps you, and there's not a whole lot else creature control you're going to find. Yeah, so just has to call it there. Doesn't find really anything more helpful. Stops the key, sitting at 14. Artifacts are slowed down. You're not haunted anymore, so this Mars board is not doing nearly as much. But like, if it just reaps out here, can you stop it if you're Tutenkharnage? You have to find your several capture, and there's a lot of capture pips, so it's probably more safe to go into Geistoid like Zenzi's doing here, because you're going to find a lot of stuff with those junk restorations. Well, maybe. Boo, crop circles, distant void prober. Grabs the boo. Yeah, just going for amber pips here. Gonna mill a bunch of stuff. Does get the haunted house activated here as well. I don't know if I feel safe at 9. Oh, discards. Tutenkharnages. Let's see. There's one Arise. I think you wanted to see the second Arise in there. If you see the second Arise, you're feeling pretty good. But without it, there's a chance that you're able to replay a bunch of this if you're Tutenkharnage. Fights off a tryhard. Oh, BR Geist the tryhard. Ooh. BR Geist is such a crazy card. It's so good. This card's perimeter alarm and in here somewhere. Okay, so if the Arise was in there, we didn't see it. Tutenkharnage gets the key for the 6 there. Sitting at 7 amber. Zenzi's at 10. 10 is pretty tough to do for Tutenkharnage's deck. Let's take a look. Especially, well, Tutenkharnage saying they made a mistake that cost them. I still don't know. It is very hard not to archive the Arise there. I don't know what those other cards really get you. Like Crepuscular Rays is just nice Amber Burst. You get to steal a little bit. I feel like it's almost closer to like you get like the Mender and or the Soul Tender. Just try to get a big board and then start dumping the Amber off of them as you capture it. But even then, like you have to have stuff to deal with this Mars. Okay, we're able to steal. Has the Gift of Amber. This is going to be a crazy turn, but it's just, yeah, one turn too late. Because, yeah, if he's got the Arise here, this is insane. Doesn't kill the other tryhard, though. I think that's... Oh, doesn't have it. Wow. All right. So game 1 going to Zenzi. Which I think between these two, I would give Zenzi's deck the advantage, but it's still a very, very close game. Really, really interesting. I could see... I don't know. It'll be interesting to see in game 2. Because you did get to see like Zenzi's deck, like you kind of notice it once it gets going. It is tough to set up the combo. You have to get kind of the exact 3 cards to do it, or 2 or 3 cards to do it. And your options to do that run out really quick. Oh, I'll grab the logs just to be in. Final refrain mindset because it's coming back. Yeah, chains will be really interesting too. Because it's so hard with the Grim Reminders decks that do this kind of stuff. Like you could put a bunch of chains on it. If it finds a combo pieces, it just doesn't matter. Um, you just mill yourself until you find the Wind of Death, and then you start firing. Let's see. I'm gonna just open a Google Doc here. I don't need to do this because this is just a KAGI pod game, so really this is for fun. It's not really like anything too serious, but that was actually still a really cool game. That'd be cool to do take a second look at. Okay, so we got Tutenkharnage on the bottom on the GR deck now. Zenzi on top with the Amber Skies deck. Again, Amber Skies deck going first. If I have any more fun, I might explode. That's how we're all feeling, right? But yeah, chains will be tough because I think this Amber Skies deck, if it gets the right start, it's just so fast and can recur that dis. But you have to kind of get enough of it in the discard. Oof, Vapor Imp discarding the Connectome transfer. That's a bold move. The Vapor Imp is very good here. I think playing that turn one is good. Discarding Connectome is scary because you just do not have a whole lot of creature control. Like we saw last time, if you just get too many Mars creatures down early, you could just be in boatloads of trouble. And that Connectome is one of the only things that saved Tutenkharnage's last game from that early Mars board. Quick draw, welcome in. Glad you finally made it home. Yeah, game one was intense. It was a very cool matchup. It's been fun. But it did take a little bit. I think we started just a couple minutes late. But we did have Zenzi taking game one. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and swap our deck names here since we are in game two. Oops. Okay, we get to see that Vapor Imp firing off, stopping action cards. So, Tutenkharnage not having an answer to be able to kill that. LB Astray not coming down ready because not quite haunted. So that Vapor Imp, and now you've got the Venomoth to go with it just to start really strangling this GR deck. Okay, Distant Void Prober coming down, discarding Center Chief Garcia. There's the Abductomatic. Okay, so getting a little bit of that bulk on the board. Abductomatic going to be pretty good at killing this stuff, but it is just going to take time. Gift of Amber is gone though, so that is going to be most of your creature control in Dis outside of the Double Doom. So Zenzi, going to be interesting to see if they keep going Dis here. I think you do, just to try and restrict this deck as much as possible. But the trick is that fast enough? Are you generating Amber fast enough while you're doing the disruption? If you find something like a Tryhard, maybe. Discards Into the Warp and then discards the Key Abduction. So interesting not playing that there to get the extra Amber. Could have maybe done it first or something, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that ends up making a difference or not. Zenzi here facing a tough decision. We do see the In Here Somewhere already gone. That's kind of scary. This deck doesn't really have a way to get that back. And we saw that was very important for keeping this deck in it late game, being able to get back those disc pieces. Does go Geistoid here. So if we can get some of those well strings down and warded, that's still going to give this Mars quite a bit of issues. We don't have the Winds of Death or Target gone yet, so GR deck is not really in too much trouble yet, unless it can't kill this Vapor Imp, and then it starts getting in a lot of trouble. Pipped out Command Prompt coming down. If that thing survives, that is definitely a scary card. We've got a lot of capture pips coming. Soul Tender is going to dump some of that Amber at least. And getting those wards going. So same thing on the GR side. You don't have a ton of creature control, so dealing with these wards and stuff is going to become an issue real fast. Goes into a Starline's turn, so we'll see. Maybe going to try to Into the Warp some of this stuff off. We also don't have the Near Future Lens. Again, game 1, Near Future Lens came down very fast. Oh, we've got the Perimeter Arm. Okay, so that's going to allow you to probably fight into the Vapor Imp here, or maybe the Venomoth. You've got the armor to deal with the Venomoth, but it's hard to say which of those is actually scarier at this point. It's got to be the Vapor Imp. So if they find, well, again, there's just no way for them to go Dis and deal with your Mars board, so you'll always have a way to kill whichever one you need to later on. It might actually be the command prompt. That house cheating in Geistoid or in Logos could be really, really strong. Especially since you already have sort of the wards and stuff down. If you get a bunch of those Logos capture pips and then can play that Crepuscular Raise, that could be really nasty. Except Tutenkharnage has no Amber to capture and steal. So maybe not quite as scary as it looks at first glance. We'll see. Depends on what they do this turn. Yeah, does fight off the command prompt. That's tough. There's a lot of scary creatures here. That's all they're able to do, though. So definitely a slower start this game for both of these decks. Disruption, though, on Zenzi's side looking a little bit better. If you can start finding some of those tryhards, it could be pretty good. Or even some of those well strings. You just get those down with the Soul Tender and start picking off all of this GR board. But you really want to keep on the discard train, keep on the disruption train to try and stop the GR deck from getting the combo pieces archived, because you don't have any archive hate. Okay, Wellstring comes down. We do fight off the Lang, Lang, so we can start reaping with the Soul Tender. More creatures getting warded here. Still slow on the Amber, but just getting a board that is going to be tough for Tutenkharnage to deal with. If one of these with the Stratowise, I think would be a little bit more scared, because that lets them start cycling too, so they can build up a really nice Dis hand with those Arises and everything. But again, that Gift of Amber being gone so early is, I think, really, really big for where this match is. Like, this can look scary, but I don't think it's as big of a deal, just because there's not really as good of a way to kind of really fire this Dis off the way it can if that Gift of Amber is there. Going back into Mars here, we get the airlock down. You are haunted now, so both of these are doing a little bit more when they fight or reap, but you're not really worried about stopping a key at the moment. It's much more about what are your biggest threats here? What do we need to deal with? And honestly, it's probably both of these. It's pretty hard to justify not fighting off both of them here. You can do it without either of yours dying, even though they start dying to the Wellstring next turn. But you don't really care if these die now. You just want the disruption off the board. Goes for the Soul Tender instead. So you're still only drawing up to 5. But that is the warding ability. Interesting. Yeah, I don't feel like if you're going for the Winds of Death Key Abduction, you don't really care about a board of Geistoid. Because that's not going to be the fastest Amber generation this deck has either. Yeah, you can set up for a nice Crepuscular Raise, maybe. But this is the stuff, like this Vapor Imp starts stopping you from being able to play half of your hand. You can't play creature cards now. And the Venomoth is still keeping you at 5 cards. Like, that's 3 turns now, at least, that you've been... or you just fight the Venomoth to kill off the Void Prober. Hmm. Interesting timing of the reap here. So didn't get to play, but maybe wanted to make sure or had other things he wanted to keep in hand. I feel like you play that Dust Imp before you reap with a Vapor Imp. But maybe it was just between those two. No? Interesting. Maybe just unlucky there. Okay, Tutenkharnage going back into Mars, but at this point, I don't think you can deal with both of these. But if you leave one of them alive, you're in a lot of trouble. Or if you leave both of them alive, you're in tons of trouble. So you have to kill at least one of them here, I think. Okay, here's a Crop Circle's gonna steal one of those Amber. Again, probably going on one of these Vapor Imps. I think you do the one with the discard pip. Drop pip is a little bit scarier off the Arise. Zenzi doing good, protecting those Vapor Imps with a creature on the flank there, so Snippy doesn't kill it. Crop Circles onto the Vapor Imp. Abductomatic, gonna fight that one off, so it does get another Amber there. Nothing left to capture. Airlock to discard Soul Vial. Back up to 6 cards finally here because that Venomoth got killed, but this could just be an Arise. It might all be coming back. I haven't seen much Logos yet, though, from Zenzi, so it could just be a turn to kind of slow down. But what you do in a Logos turn would be capture a bunch to set up for the Crepuscular Rays. Nope, it's an Arise. That's what this deck does. So Vapor Imp is back. Dust Imp, Venomoth, everyone's back. Mosquito. Double Dooms the Abductomatic. Ooh, that is brutal. Can't play action cards here either. Yeah, so this is where, Grishammer, you mentioned it earlier, we might get a 2-0 just because this is what can shut down this GR deck is double Vapor Imp. If that gets online, you're in a world of trouble. You might get lucky. It might hit an artifact or something on one of them, but if it starts hitting creature action every turn, you're just done for. What was discarded? Off of the Double Doom, discard Body. Okay. Goes Geistoid here. We know the Snippy is gone already, which is also very unfortunate for Tutenkharnage. Oh, maybe gonna switch house here. Missed the Vapor Imp. Yeah, that's fine. So you probably just go Mars here, get the stuff back down, which isn't super easy to kill with this disc. You do have to run a couple of your things in there. I do this too. It needs to like flash or something when there's new stuff at the bottom and you're scrolled up, so you know things are moving again. Okay, so it goes back into Mars. We're gonna see the Abductomatic come back down. The one thing with Tutenkharnage, or that's in Tutenkharnage's favor, is that the Amber is still so low. So you're not like at a place where Zenzi's deck has already made a bunch of Amber as well as getting this board out. But it's scary. It's real scary here. Discarding the Alien Horror. Both Void Probers are gone. We could see the Rebel here, could see Target, but draws have been a little bit slow because of all this disruption, so there's a good chance it's not much more than this Abductomatic. Discards into the Warp. Okay, there's the Rebel. Very, very good here. You can at least take out one of these Vapor Imps. Try and keep yourself from just losing. Ooh, and has the Deep Probe. Oh, but it has to discard it because of the Vapor Imp. Zenzi has second Arise here. This is going to be rough. But lots of cards left in deck, so good chance they haven't found that. Still going to dis anyways. It's just worth it here. You can maybe... Ooh, has that try hard. Discards target. Oh, man. Brutal. Mosquito fights in, takes off the armor there. Venomoth takes it out, and then Vapor Imp hits action cards again. Yeah. Gonna be seeing this in his dreams tonight. This is terrifying. Oh, and has the replay pod one turn too late as well. Yeah. And discard Scout Pete with the airlock. So you've got the BR Geist. You need a... Well, BR Geist doesn't work because even if you can play actions, you can't play the creature off of it if Vapor Imp hits creatures. So I think this is just dis until it's over. We'll see. If you get a turn of being able to play... Oh, it hits actions again. If you get a turn of being able to play actions, you have a chance because you can just Winds of Death all of this. Because we have not seen Winds of Death yet. So there's a good chance that's in hand. Yeah, now that the board is down, especially with that Infernal Terran, things are moving fast. You need that opening to be able to play that Winds of Death, which Winds of Death, if he was able to play it this turn, that would basically turn the game around, I think, because there's tons of archiving, tons of Mars in here. That's really good for you. And maybe even playing it next turn could be enough. It all depends on if Zenzi can handcraft enough to force this to hit an action card again. Okay, so we keep going Mars here. Just going to keep trying to cycle. Gets the Grabber Jammer down. Going to do a little bit of taxing. Ditches the Haunted House. All it takes is one turn of being able to play actions. I think it needs to happen this turn. Because this is going to be up to 9 Amber. Well, I guess not if you're fighting the Grabber Jammer. Yeah. Well, with the Vapor Imp, or Dust Imp, I guess. Replay pod gets it back. Oh, yeah, it is 9 Amber. Look at me. I can math. Reap, reap, reap. Oh, it hits a creature. Yep, there it is. So now the question is, does Tutenkharnage have the Winds of Death? And then after he does it, can he pilot this Mars to actually stop these keys? So if you're Winds of Deathing here, you're not stopping this key. So it's all playing for key 3. And you're not dealing with this stuff, which is set up for at least a decent Crepuscular raise. Yeah, we get the Geistwood Call. Discards Dark Lamp. Has the Junk Restoration. Demo, Near Future Lens, UFO. Yeah, so we know he's got the Winds of Death in hand. See, this is where, like I was saying, it's really hard to bid chains on a match like this because this GR deck can go from 0 to 100 in one turn. A lot's going to depend. Let's see. Is going to flip the deck here, though. Which is unfortunate. I'm not sure if there's a way to get around that. Hey, why? Oh, play the BR Geist. Yeah, could have BR Geisted like the Dust Imp or something there to get a little bit more amber. Because both players were haunted and hadn't flipped the deck yet. Yeah, a little bit interesting on the sequencing there. I think you could also hold the Dark Lamp. Get a little bit more amber control on your side of the board. Just do the Winds of Death first, but... Oh, yeah. No, you're right, because there was... Sorry, good catch. Because of the Vapor Imp. Oh, we have the Arise. Vapor Imp is back down. Dog thinks she needs something. She doesn't need anything. Interesting. So, like... I mean, I guess it all just got put back in your hand because of the Winds of Death. It'd be... Ooh, Skippy is nice there. Being able to discard the Skippy to get rid of the replay pod. It's not bad. But you're not getting to check here. I think... Well... Yeah, because I mean the Mars with the Rebel can kill a lot of this stuff. That's interesting. I would have to think about that turn for quite a bit before I was confident with my play, because there's a lot of ways you could go. Like, honestly, if you're going dis here, I almost play all of my creatures and then discard the Terran and see how much I can steal and just clear out my hand from all these other creatures that I maybe don't want. Because you want, if this is your tryhards, I guess you want to hold the tryhards here for after the archives are pulled. That's probably the big thing here. But like not going to check here is scary. Interesting. I should have been looking at the discard, but I'm assuming... Oh, Tutenkharnage doesn't have the key abduction unless he drew it on the redraw. I don't think he ever had a chance to archive it. Did he? Let's see. Yeah, it got discarded. The target got discarded, and the key abduction was played like almost turn 2 or 3, so, or discarded. So you can do a lot with Mars, but you're not key abducting here unless you redrew it on the shuffle, which would be crazy. 21 cards in hand is a lot to deal with on TCO. I'm sure you can figure it out though. Because like, again, just think it back to Zenzi's turn here. If you're haunted, or no, sorry, if you get to check, Tutenkharnage is not haunted. He does have the UFO to try to get there, but that hits crop circles right away, which is not the key abduction. So that means the only amber control you really get is from these small things like discarding Mars creatures or the crop circles, which isn't really doing much now because you took your archives. So you have no deep probe. I mean, Void Prober, You don't have your grabber jammer, so it's basically 2 void probers, abductomatic, target. Yeah. If you force the check here, I think it's... Oh, again, I don't know what else was in the hand, so maybe there was no way to really get much more than, like, get to 6 or something. But it's still not over. Got the extra draw there from the airlock. You got your rebel, which can at least let you get rid of these vapor imps. You can steal a decent amount of amber, at least a little bit with the crop circles. Yeah, it is really interesting. Because Zenzi didn't go to check here, I think there's also a pretty good argument for not going Mars this turn if you're Tutenkharnage, but having the UFO is tough, right? Like, you're like, okay, there's a good chance I'm gonna mill into something I want. What else is in there? Replay pod and grabber jammer, is that it? And key abduction? Oh, must have drawn into replay pod or grabber jammer on the redraw. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with this black bar. I think this is new from PV, that this side of the board is just actually cut off now. Maybe that's not new. I don't know. It looks so much better when I'm in full screen, but it doesn't work with this overlay. Discard's a distant void prober, so we're gonna start just doing some amber control here. Gonna try to recycle into Winds of Death, I guess. Plays crop circles. This is the other thing. If you hold that archives, this crop circles can just decimate Zenzi's amber while you're digging for the key abduction. Discards the Snippy to destroy Mosquito. Get the Grabber Jammer. Abductomatic. Discard Stronger Together. Discards another Distant Void Prober to get more amber on that Vapor Imp, which is not long for this world. Plays the Rebel. Doesn't get haunted here, so you're still not going to get the capture, which I guess at this point doesn't matter a whole lot because Grabber Jammer captures the last one. There's the target. Grabs the UFO. Okay. So yeah, you're still in an okay position here for the key abduction, but all of this stuff, well, it might not die because, again, this deck doesn't do a whole lot of creature killing. It could do a Geistoid turn here, though, especially with the Soul Tender. Can kill a decent amount of this, and if you didn't get the replay pod, it's tough. What else do you have? Deep Probe? Oh, but you can't play Deep Probe because of... No, there wasn't a Vapor Imp Reap. He said there were 3 Mars cards left, and I can't think of what those are. So I feel like I'm counting a lot that he wasn't able to play this turn. Yeah. Zenzi here most likely having those double tryhards. But yeah, thinking if that's actually the right play, because I think you do need to kill this Mars board. Because it will do a lot of damage if you don't, especially against all this squishy stuff you got. But also need to think about if it's worth stopping a key here. I mean, like, if you go Dis, Dust Imp can run into Target, Venomok can run into Grabber Jammer, Terran runs into Rebel. You're still doing okay, but you're not getting to check. Could just be... Oh no, both the Rises are gone, so there's no Rises left. What does your Logos do here? You just draw a bunch. Find Strange Gizmo. I don't know that that really helps you. No, Strange Gizmo doesn't do anything anymore. A couple information exchanges. If you get the capture pip one, well, you'd still need more than that to stop the key. Root access could do a little damage, but I think that's gone. Yeah. You don't have too much logos left, actually. It's got to be a lot of Geistoid. Yeah. But your energy vampirism is not gone. Okay, so that does a little damage at least. Take out the target, and then you can fight into these and then reap. What else could we have in Geistoid? In here somewhere is gone. Ooh, manifestation is nice. What do we have? Amber in a discard. Or just capture. Depends on what other tools you have. Yeah, there's capture. Oh, you could do a Crepuscular Ray. Which would be pretty nice here as well, especially if you can get rid of the Grabber Jammer to reduce key cost. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in this deck. It's very cool. Okay, so here come the Geistoid Brigade. And then do you play? No, you're going to look for as much capture as you can first. Grabs a tryhard. Okay, so didn't have the second tryhard anyway, so makes sense to not go dis here for several reasons. Fights off Grabber Jammer. Is Ray's gone? Did we see that earlier? No. Ray should be in hand. Man Prompt has another capture pip on it. Okay, so key is stopped. More discarding happening. More amber going on that Colonel Slime. Crepuscular Rays here will be nasty. That also has a capture pip on it, I believe. Yeah, so going to be a 5 amber steal. Still pretty crazy, but actually took a lot of work compared to other cards that exist now. Takes out the Colonel Slime. We still got the Reap and then a fight from... Oh, or you could just fight and then do the after fight effect there to kill both those 2 powers, and then just Reaps and Soul Tender to heal and ward all those Geisty boys. And that will probably about do it. Mars is where most of that amber control is going to be. Rogue operations doesn't help me now. There's not quite enough capture in Geistoid. Yeah. Man, crazy, crazy game 2. But tough. It's very tough. You had to choose your fights so carefully all those turns if you're Tutenkharnage. I just, when you're playing a combo deck like this, I think Vapor Imp is the highest priority because it just slows down everything you can do to even find your combo pieces. Yeah. What did we start with? Vapor Imp turn 1 was really big, but I mean, Tutenkharnage had a decent turn here. Junk Restoration into Elbia Stray, Strong Feeling. Then we had the second Venomoth, or the Venomoth, and then the Gift of Amber to kind of clear the board and get that stuff ready to go. Reap with the Vapor Imp. Yeah. You can stall for a turn here? How? This Crop Circles is gone, right? You have... What'd you pick up off the target? UFO? You'd have to have 3 capture pips and the rogue operations. Because this fight's for 2. You don't have the rebel anymore, so you don't get a second fight off of it. I just want to know how you would stall this turn. So curious now. But he's got to go for the key abduction, which I don't. Yeah, I mean, you're at 4 amber, 12 card hand. You can probably get there. I mean, you're basically there already, aren't you? Can you do something with stronger together? No. I don't know. Oh, body and Garcia. Okay. They exist. There is surprising amber control in there, but it's deep probe, which was neither of those. And with the airlock, what do we get? Key abduction in the bottom 6, but how do you hate UFOs? I love UFO. It's great. It just finds me more Mars and gets the other stuff out of the way. If it was in a set that wasn't GR, I would play it all the time. Deep probe for dis, get all the stuff. Oh, it's time to show those tryhards what it feels like. Get a draw off of the airlock. Oh, looks like you might have found it. So he gets a key. That's something at least. There you go. Red key. But that will be game, and that will be a 2-0 win for Zenzi. Very, very impressive. Very interesting games. That game 1 was so good. This one, very tough. Still a good game, but holy cow, this dis, when it gets rolling, is scary. Presto Cadaver? I don't even know what that means. Ah. Magic is dead. There you have it. Zenzi taking it 2-0. I don't know. Quick draw, if you're still here, do you know, does this influence the outcome of the pod, or are they both still in there? I think it sounded like it maybe would be a deciding game for them. This definitely impacts the outcome. Yikes. That'd be crazy if Tutenkharnage didn't even make it in. Very, very good adaptive player. Okay, so Tutenkharnage still has another game to play. That's fair. Oh, the Geistwood pip to rise. I still don't think that does it. Yeah, we could go back. I mean, we're not going to go back now, but that's one to look at in the video of this, of just like kind of what did that turn look like and what could you have done differently. I think the bigger piece was not taking Zenzi off check with that dis turn when you played it, because I think there's a way with the tryhard capture pip that you could have gotten Zenzi off of check there. I think that changes the whole game one if you do there, but stopped at 6 and Zenzi got the key, started firing the combo, and the disc just couldn't quite keep up. Yeah, I think it's, I'd have to go back and see, because I also kind of thought both Arises were in the discard. Yeah, but stealing the Amber, it's tough. In the end, maybe it would have mattered. But the Mars can just, like, it blew up so much Amber with the Reaps and everything. And he could have had one more Reap instead of fighting. So, yeah. Okay, y'all. My doggo is ready. So I might need to call it here. Thanks everyone for hanging out, and thanks Zenzi and Tutenkharnage for having this idea. This was really awesome, super fun, really cool matchup. Great to see some of these Vault Tour caliber decks and players getting to play, and it's just very interesting how it turns out in this format, right? Like, this is super interesting how this plays out. Okay, instead of you all listening to me type in silence, we're gonna cut it off. Thank you all so much. Thanks for checking out. Make sure you be on the lookout for more content. Adaptive content especially is just going to be flooding your way soon. We got KAGI top cuts coming. Final refrain is coming. ABR actually doesn't have a KAGI this round, or adaptive this round, I don't think. But oh yeah, Tutenkharnage says they're both still technically alive for top cut, but only one of them can make it. Yeah, harder for Tutenkharnage now. So that is going to be it for me, though. We'll see you next time on Phlox'em, and have a fantastic night, y'all. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.